Hello, beautiful people. It is a glorious rainy day today, and I felt like hunkering down and chatting with you about everything I want to read in October. We all know it is spooky season. I am in it. You'll see that reflected in some of these books, but I will say I have a couple of longer books on the go that I don't know if I will just slowly work my way through alongside these other books. Let me just tell you what they are. First up is Marking Time. This is the second in the Cazalet series, or the Cazalet Chronicles, I think it's called. I was prompted to start this series because of Lauren from Lauren and the Books. She gushed about this last year, and so I picked it up. I have the physical form, and then I've been getting it out from the library. Why I do that to read it on my Kobo, I don't know, but here we are. Cazalet Chronicles is about an English family. They're fairly wealthy, and we have 3 boys from the family along with their wives and their children. There's also a daughter who is unmarried that's part of the family. So we follow these siblings along with their parents, their children, and friends. It is a cast of characters. This is comparable to Charles Dickens, the amount of characters. There's a list of characters at the front of the books, for good reason. I am grateful for that. So this is the second in the series. We're following this family in the first book on the cusp of World War II. They're not sure if it's going to take place or not. Now, Marking Time, we are in World War II. We have some of these characters going to war, some being left behind, and we're following 3 of the children. We're following the girls and their experiences dealing with war as children. They're all like early-ish teens, I want to say, early to mid-teens. And then a book that hasn't even landed on my next haul yet is The Will of the Many. This is a fantasy book. I am slowly starting to introduce more fantasy into my reading. I know, who am I? What is happening to me? I'm trying to be more open-minded, I suppose, and here we are. So this book follows a young man named V. He is orphaned, and he is living in a dystopian world in which society is very much hierarchical. They are ruled by the hierarchy. So we've got all sorts of ranks, from princeps to octavus, and based on where you are in the hierarchy, you are more powerful, more wealthy, more everything. So a princeps, which is at the very, very top, is like, I don't know, 40,000 times stronger and more viable than someone who's at the bottom, an octavus. So we follow a young man named V, and they are lying to everyone around them. They're lying to their friends. They don't really have any family, but they're lying to all of their friends. They're lying to the people they go to school with, saying that they're on board with the hierarchy, what have you, but in reality, they want to bring it down. So I've heard, this sounds a lot like Red Rising, which I've never even read, but it sounds similar to that. It also sounds a little bit like Hunger Games-esque in terms of this ranking system, but it's like, at least for Hunger Games, this is like for adults, much more complex. And so far I'm liking it. It is very dark. I say that when I'm like 37 pages into it. It's extremely dark. You don't feel a lot of hope in this book whatsoever, and maybe I will in time. Thus far, Viz has worked at a prison where they keep people in extremely strange ways. So he works there, and then at night he's trying to get extra money, and so he does these fights. and he tries to get money from the fights. So that's where I'm at thus far. I am liking it. The writing is really good and it draws you in, so that is good. But now, of course, I have lots of other books that are more Halloween-esque, a little more spooky, that I'd also like to read in October. First up is Midnight on Beacon Street. I've been holding on to this, wanting to read it right now. This takes place in October 1993. It follows kids one night. We have a single mom who is going out on a date, and she leaves her kids behind with a babysitter. And this is not a babysitter. She's just like randomly had, like, this babysitter knows the family. She knows them really well. So we follow their lives that night, and we follow the moment when visitors come to the door and will not leave. Strange phone calls are being left, and it ends in blood. I desperately want to read this. It's so nostalgic of the 70s, even though I know it takes place in 93. There's something 70s about this. Am I right? Am I losing my mind? Maybe it's the font? I don't know. I want to read it. Next is The House That Horror Built by Christina Henry. This is her latest, and this follows a woman named Harry Adams. She has always loved horror movies, and she has the chance to be a cleaning lady for a very famous horror movie director. He's very private, so she knows she has to clean with discretion, and she's happy with it because she's surrounded by his awards and stuff while she's dusting around them. And she doesn't really know what to do when one day she's dusting and cleaning and hears noises and voices behind a locked door. Now, she needs this job. She's a single mom. She desperately needs this job. However, there are voices behind a locked door. What do? Let's find out. Reading this sounds so great. Now, Diavola is next. I had planned to read this over the summer, but I just did not get a chance to do it. So now is the time. This takes place in Italy, and we follow a family going to Italy for summer vacation. They rent a house, and then they discover that the house is naturally haunted. It's apparently quite eerie, and I mean, the cover in and of itself is terrifying, I will say. I don't know what to do with this book because Nora has happened upon this book before, and she's actually scared of it, and I feel so badly. She's 5 years old. So I've been like, oh no, it's just a mistake. They just made a mistake when they were printing it and it got smudged. That's what I'm saying. In reality, it's just terrifying. And she has every right to be scared. So I want to read this and be scared. I also really want to read the last book in the Kind Worth Killing series by Swanson. This is A Talent for Murder, and this follows a woman, Martha, who had lived alone for a very long time, was totally fine with it, being a single lady, and she happens to meet this man very unexpectedly. He wines and dines her, she agrees to marry him, and then she starts wondering if she's actually married a serial killer. He comes back from work trips, and it seems like she's finding blood on his clothes. What is happening? Who is this man that she has married? I need to know. I think this is the end of a trilogy. I could be wrong. Maybe it'll just continue. And I will say, with that series, you don't follow characters. You're following, well, you do follow characters, but they're kind of in the background. So I definitely wouldn't suggest like going into that series randomly, because it will give away stuff from the start of the series, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants spoilers. That's terrible. I have 3 more books from my most recent haul. First up is Madwoman. Again, this cover. Every time I see this cover, I think, yes, that's what I think. This follows a woman named Clove. She has a very difficult past. She had a really difficult childhood that she does not talk about. Her family, she has 2 kids. They don't know anything about it. Her husband doesn't know anything about it. She wants to leave that behind. But then she receives a letter from a female prison, a women's prison, and she realizes, first of all, they've found me, whoever they are. They have found me. I thought I had covered up my tracks well enough to get away. And now, is it going to interfere with my life? Do I have to tell my family about this past of mine? I desperately want to know what this is. So yes, Madwoman is definitely on the TBR for October, as is The Queen by Nick Cutter. This comes out on October 29th. I wish it had like come out a little bit earlier for you guys, because this feels so Halloween-y. This follows 2 friends, Margaret and Charity. They have shared everything together, absolutely everything, except one particular thing that they're hiding from one another, which makes me feel like they must be 2 different secrets. And now we follow them on one day. Charity has decided she wants Margaret to know her personal secret, her personal story, the real story of what happened. And it leads to, I think, death, as all good horror books do. So that is another one. Last but not least is You'd Look Better as a Ghost. I love a horror comedy. This follows Claire, and she's a serial killer. And she meets a guy at a bar. He thinks he's picking her up. She knows she's going to bring him home and murder him. However, something gets in the way of her plans for the night, which is someone is watching her. She knows that someone is watching her, and maybe all of her secrets are going to come out. It just sounds like so much fun. Anyway, those are all of the books that I really want to read in October. Again, the first 2, I think I'll just like slowly dabble my way through that while I read some of these more creepy books. That is my plan. What are you planning to read in October? I'd love to know. Do you have any creepy books on the list that you would recommend to other people that you're super excited to read for October? Let us all know, and we'll share in the comments. And I will see you guys very soon. Happy spooky reading month to you all. Goodbye.